Rich Lowe, Pilot Legacy, on site at the Grassdale, Manor, Texas, Wednesday, 22 September 2021, 1 year, 12 weeks post-groundbreaking. As usual, we'll kick off this month's update with the Owners, Architects, and Contractors Draw Meeting. The weather in Manor has been fantastic, but our biggest challenge continues to be in the supply chain department. Whether it's appliances, vinyl flooring, or paint, the global supply chain snafus continue to deliver a special kind of fog and friction that builders traditionally don't deal with. Most notable and urgent for Team Grassdale currently is the lagging delivery of siding. Strategic's workflow is outpacing the delivery of our siding. Today's building materials, namely zip siding, endure exposure to the elements quite well. Whereas in the past, such a delay coupled with old school materials like particle board could very well result in the need to remove and replace that material. The good news, we're developing a multifamily community in Texas. The bad news, we're developing a multifamily community in Texas. Fortunately, Strategic is a big enough player in the Texas multifamily space that we often find ourselves near the front of the line for the materials that we need. However, the massive national single-family home builders are typically getting first dibs on these materials. Strategic has thus far handled these supply chain issues well, and we're confident they'll continue to do so with an eye towards initial completion scheduled for late November. Following our OAC meeting, we walked the property to review the progress we've made over the past month. As we've indicated in past updates, the clubhouse, gym, and leasing office continue to be the focal point of construction efforts on property, as that building got a late start due to, you guessed it, supply chain issues. But as you can see, most of the clubhouse has now been sheetrocked, taped, and floated. Texturing and painting are scheduled to commence in the coming days. Meanwhile, on the exterior, crews continue to install and seal windows to complete the dry-in of the building. And just to the west of the clubhouse, on the other side of the future gym's windows, the swimming pool has been poured. Now, some months back, you'll recall that construction had begun on the Grassdale's Uber and lift station. Much to our chagrin, we learned that either the concrete pad site for that station would need to be prepped like a typical foundation, that is an 11-foot hole dug, moisture and density control, select fill, capping, etc., or it would require a 30-foot dig to insert deep piles. Seriously, 30 feet deep. The latter was chosen as the least painful of the two options. It just took a while to get a drilling rig on site. I'm happy to report we got our 30-foot holes drilled and the piles have been poured. The Uber and lift station sits atop of these 30-foot piles and it ain't going anywhere. Also, you can see from the Uber lift station and around Building Charlie, sidewalks are being poured. And finally, just as it becomes seasonally cooler, we're taking delivery of our air conditioning units, and many of them are now operational. Recall that Building Echo is the community frontrunner. With meters installed and the units now cooling from the air conditioning, Building Echo is a great place to be. Additionally, the heaters and hot water heaters have been installed, as well as some great looking ceiling fans. The subway style tile has been installed on the kitchen backsplash. But as you can see, the appliances are not in place. They are still sitting in a shipping container somewhere off the west coast of California. But the bathrooms are making great progress and the vinyl flooring is also being installed. Elsewhere in the community, crews can be seen installing a lint trap for the laundry and maintenance room. And at Building Foxtrot, Assistant Site Superintendent Rogelio Domingo explained the construction efforts to waterproof and ensure the longevity of the decorative truss elements. Meanwhile, crews continue bringing buildings along in sequence on the inside and out. Sheetrock, texturing, applying siding as it becomes available, mortaring the base and columns, and applying the stone fascia. Despite the supply chain issues, there continues to be great progress in multiple areas around the Grassdale. Strategic continues to pivot and make the optimal use of the time and resources to maximize results as we move ever closer to November, just 6 weeks from now, when we anticipate the commencement of leasing operations. And finally, we're going to add a bonus segment to this month's update. Of course, no aspect of the Grassdale project would have been possible without funding and favorable financing. Pilot Legacy's financier, Paul Peoples of Old Capital Lending, facilitated the Grassdale's HUD 221 D4 financing through Colliers International, a HUD DUS lender. Paul is hosting this year's annual Old Capital Multifamily Conference at the Texas Rangers' new stadium, Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. Let's check it out and find out more about Old Capital Lending and Colliers International. Rich Lowe, Pilot Legacy, on site at Globe Life Field for the Old Capital Multifamily Conference, and I'm joined today by Paul Peoples of Old Capital Lending and Fritz Waldvogel of Colliers International. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us today.
No problem. Thanks for coming to the event today.
Paul, tell us a little bit about Old Capital Lending and what you do.
So I am the national underwriter for Old Capital. So we're a commercial real estate lender. So about 85% of the business that we do is apartment loans, large apartment loans, similar to the Grassdale loan that we provided Pilot Legacy last year or 2 years ago. It's been a while, but I was just recently down in that neck of the woods in beautiful Addison. You guys have done a wonderful job. If you're an investor, if you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, you want to go take a look at it. It is going to be a shiny, nice little dime.
And you know, the financing for that project is under a HUD 221 D4 loan. Fritz, tell us what you do as a DUS lender at Colliers International and how your program interfaces the HUD 221 D4 program.
Yeah, so I'm a vice president at Colliers International, focusing on originating HUD and Fannie Mae mortgages. But the reason that the HUD mortgage, the 221 D4 mortgage, was so successful on this project is you have a low interest rate, a 40-year amortization, wow, and you can get up to 85% of loan to cost, and it's non-recourse to the guarantors. So it's one of the premier loan construction loans out in the marketplace.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a great loan for somebody that's building a large apartment building. And so Fannie Mae doesn't do construction loans, Freddie Mac doesn't do construction loans, but HUD does the construction loan, and it takes the interest rate risk. We locked this loan at a low rate back about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. That doesn't go away. It's for 40 years, 40-year amortization, 40-year term.
Today's been a fantastic event. Here at the Texas Rangers Stadium, we had great speakers like Pudge Rodriguez and the CEO and president of HEB. Tell us a little bit about the Old Capital Multifamily Conference.
The Old Capital Multifamily Conference is held once a year around this time in the fall. It's the annual event. It's our 5th annual multifamily conference, where we bring in some of the best speakers to kind of talk a little bit about what's going on in the industry. So Rich and Lane and Michael and the whole crew at Pilot Legacy comes up. They listen to see what's going on. They're part of the cutting edge about what's going on with multifamily. So we bring in multifamily speakers, we bring in economists, we bring in everybody that's around the multifamily industry, that these guys can learn and kind of get that information back out to you.
Well, Paul, Fritz, we thank you for the opportunity to interview, and for those of you that are investors in the Grassdale, these two gentlemen here are responsible not only for the funding but the financing that made this great project a possibility and now a reality. Thank you, gentlemen, for
no problem,
the opportunity
Rich,
today.
We appreciate the opportunity.
All right, thanks. Back to you. It's Wednesday, 22 September. What is up with this thing? Is it too windy? You ain't no TV professional. It's Wednesday, 22 September. Why is this not working? I don't get it, man.
Great returns for your investors, and stable. I'm trying to think what I want to say.
That's it. Keep going.
You can cut it. Can you cut it?
I can cut that, yeah.